Black is the New White is a brand new play by Nakia Louie. It's centred around Charlotte Gibson, who is a native title lawyer. She's recently worked on a case negotiating leases with a mining company, and one of the laws that she used is a law that her father got through when he was a politician. While she was working with the community, she discovered some things about that particular law that have made her question who she is, who her family are, and the work that they've been doing. They decided to get their parents together at the Gibson family home for Christmas, and it's a disaster, pretty much.
I was really interested in exploring modern Australia, in particular the Aboriginal community. How do we identify ourselves in terms of our racial, cultural backgrounds, and then the intersection of that with class, and what is it to be successful when you come from a community that is so often so politicised.
Nakia Louie is a playwright and social commentator who also happens to be Aboriginal, and that informs a lot of the work that she's been doing. A big part of what Nakia is mining from within herself is what it means to be a middle-class Aboriginal person, what it means to be an Aboriginal leader or a successful Aboriginal person. The pressure on people who have been successful is huge.
I wanted to write something that didn't come from a place of sorrow or from death or from oppression where you'd have to rehash that intergenerational trauma. This was about something that had hope and happiness in it.
We described the play as a cross between Guess Who's Coming to Dinner / Meet the Fockers / The Family Stone and Grand Designs because of Renee Mulder's amazing design. And we watched a lot of rom-coms while Nakia was writing this play, and that actually really fed into what we were doing. The play actually follows a classic rom-com film structure, not necessarily a play structure, and we used that as a base, or she used that as a base. We had a 5-week rehearsal period, so after the first week when we made all of our edits and rewrites, we then used a process which is kind of like my version of active analysis, which is a late Stanislavski technique. And that is breaking a script down into a series of main events, which could be a scene, but then there might be a couple of main events in a scene. And then we break those main events down into mini events and we name them all. And then we perform structured improvisations around those events. So that means the actors don't have to have their scripts in hand. In these improvisations, you discover a lot of subtext for the characters because they're really saying whatever they're thinking, not necessarily what's on the page. From the improvisations, I write them all down, and then the next week we come back and I say, great, we're going to stage this scene now, we'll run through it. Can you put this, this, this and this from the improvisation into this scene if you can? And then we just refine and shape from there. So you'll see a series of stereotypes within the play, and each one of them is flipped over, whether it is race, sexuality, culture. She examines all of them and then flips it. Because you can't ever really pin something down. Everyone is an individual, even though they might belong to a particular cultural group. Everyone is still an individual, and so the way that they identify with the world is going to be different to the person who's sitting next to them. It's interesting because you can really judge Francis, and it's really easy to because he is a boy who comes from a very well-to-do family who lives on an allowance, which is from a trust. It was actually something that we struggled with in rehearsals, to be honest, because he is entitled. He actually is entitled. And we had this big back and forth about Charlotte wanting him to go to New York, but he'd have to give up playing the cello. He realised that we were making concessions for Charlotte. Then you do discover in the play that he doesn't have the right hands to play the cello. He practiced every day as a kid. That is part of who he is. That's part of his identity. This play isn't saying that if you have money, you're a bad person at all. A lot of people have money, and there are a lot of good people out there. There are a lot of bad people out there. But it always comes back to, I think, acknowledging who you are, checking your privilege. Everyone that's been involved in this play believes wholeheartedly in Nakia and her vision, and so it was really important when we were working on this play that it was all about Nakia and her vision. Checking your privilege and questioning people who have power is something that's really important to her, and it's something that's really important to me, and it's something that's really important to all of the cast and creatives working on this show, and I hope that really comes across because it is probably the most important part of this play.